everyone. So Kamala Harris appeared on Stephen Colbert's show last night. And let me just say that she has excellent comedic timing, even if it never seems intentional. Then again, Stephen Colbert and Kamala Harris have a lot in common, insofar as they were both rejected in various ways by an uninterested public. So let's get right into the interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, my guest tonight was Vice President of the United States. Please welcome her back to The Late Show, Vice President Kamala Harris. Madam Vice President, it's nice to see you again.
Hi, it's great to be here. Thank you.
First of all, you look rested.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you. How you doing?
Well, I'm fine. I'll get plenty of rest in June.
Yeah.
Now, first time you've been here as just a citizen, not as a government official. This is your 8th visit to the show. Those are thank you for being here. Once you left office, I'm just curious. I'm gonna get into the details, and I wanna talk about your coming book, 107 Days.
Yes, so Kamala has made her return to the Stephen Colbert show yet again. She is promoting a new book called 107 Days, which purports to tell the tale of the shortest campaign for presidency in modern history. Now, the length of the campaign would appear to be Kamala's latest excuse for why she lost. But I have to say that seeing her in the limelight once again makes me so incredibly grateful that we do not have to deal with this woman as president. She hasn't even said anything yet, and I'm sure some will or would see this as an unfair characterization, but her affect is so grating. It's like this constant fake smile and the fake laugh and the Let's hear what Kamala actually has to say about her book, about why she lost, about her new life as a citizen.
I'm just curious, once you left office, how long before you turned on the news again?
Months.
Yeah?
Months. I'm just not into self-mutilation, and I just...
Well, she may not be for herself, but members of her party certainly encourage it in others. I seem to recall Kamala bragging about procuring gender-affirming care for inmates, undocumented inmates at that.
Lots of cooking shows.
Oh, good.
Lots of cooking
Great
shows.
British Bake Off and stuff like that.
The kitchen is one of my favorites.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one question on everyone's mind right now.
Yeah.
How's Doug?
He's really well.
He's
Doug
doing
is
okay?
well.
He's
He's
doing okay?
back practicing law, and he's great. He's great. And thank you for asking.
You said he's back practicing law. For a second, I thought you said he's backpacking.
Oh, well.
He's in the Himalayas. He hasn't turned on the news yet either.
Yeah.
I had certain forgotten just how often Kamala laughs and just how inappropriate it is almost every time. I'm seriously starting to question if there is a medical issue here wherein the part of her brain that is supposed to interpret humor never existed in the first place, or maybe became defective. Maybe there was an accident that the public doesn't know about. Because her laughter never seems provoked by funny things. I mean, she'll laugh at Colbert's jokes, but she'll also just laugh at statements of fact. I fail to see why the question, how is your husband doing, is funny. But Kamala isn't all jokes, okay? She's a very serious person at times. She's intense. She's a real thinker. That's how I've heard people describe her. And she's going to offer some words of wisdom to her audience and to us by extension. So let's hear her out.
And to talk with folks and remind them of their power and their importance in making a difference.
Well, one of the things...
I mean, I just want to put a fine point on this. You can never let anybody take your power from you. You can never let anybody take your power from you. And that's what I think, for me, that's what I'd like to remind folks of.
Well, in the other big news that, as I said, you've written a book,
Yes.
107 Days.
Yeah.
It's describes the number of days that were in your campaign, which, as you said, is the shortest presidential campaign of all time.
Yeah.
Books after an election can tell a variety of stories. They can be like an audit of what happened, guides for the future, gossipy tell-alls. What do you want people to take from the story that you have to tell of those 107 days?
I would love if it were just a book of Kamala Harris definitions. Let's get a Kamala Harris dictionary going. Russia is a big country. Ukraine is a smaller country that's next to Russia. 107 days is the length of her campaign. Kamala Harris is her, you see where I'm going with this. There are so many words which I feel merit a Kamala Harris interpretation.
So this book is basically what I would offer as a behind the scenes sharing of what it means to run for president. It was an intense experience.
To run for president in a way that no one had run before.
Well, to run for president, period, but certainly in a way that no one had done before in 107 days. I talk about in the book, there are some people who are born or grew up believing I'm going to be president. I want to be president. That wasn't me. It wasn't. I knew I wanted to serve. I knew that. But I think there's something about it all that it can feel very opaque. Like, people feel like they know, there's these movies and these television shows, but what really is it like? And I hope by writing this book, one of the things that I do is help people see from the inside what it is in a way that they can see something about themselves that tells them, hey, I could do that, or I have that instinct, or I have seen moments in my own life when I've had to deal with adversity or attacks, but I can still get up and go.
I see. It's a how-to guide for running a failed presidential campaign. There is something very strange about the way Kamala Harris conducts herself in this interview, and I apologize for freezing on this frame. That was not intentional. But it really does sound like she's slurring her words together, and I'm not accusing her of anything in particular, just noting that her articulation needs a little bit of work. She was never a fantastic public speaker, but this is pretty bad. It sounds like she's struggling to string the sentence together. As for the transparency, I find it somewhat difficult to believe that a woman who was Joe Biden's vice president is seriously committed to showing the public what it was really like behind the scenes. 107 days could very well be an expose of Joe Biden's apparent cognitive decline, but I doubt that any thorough examination of that will be included in the book. Now, what I'm really interested in reading about, though I doubt that she'll include this either, is Kamala's daily routine. There were reports that Kamala preferred to do events in the afternoon. I believe sometimes she only did one event a day. Donald Trump did much more than that, and he's older than her. And so I wonder about Kamala's stamina. I wonder about her habits. Why, if she only had 107 days, why does it seem like she wasted so much time? These are questions which I'm sure many members of the public have. But Stephen Colbert is not going to ask those questions. These are questions which I'm sure many people have, but not Stephen Colbert. He has questions about Dougie and Mamala and our democracy, so all the important things.
There's a lot of personal stuff in the book. I mean, poor Dougie.
You blown the lid off of Doug? What's going on?
For example, my birthday's in October. The election's in November. You see where I'm going. And Dougie kind of dropped the ball on my big birthday.
He didn't get you anything?
Oh, you have to read the book.
All right, just tell me the page. Tell me the page. Well, I mean, obviously, people will be surprised. People don't know what it's like to run for president, as you said,
right.
the way you ran.
I enjoy how women of the Democratic Party seem to do their very best to publicly embarrass their husbands. I mean, Michelle Obama's entire podcast seems founded on the principle of tearing down Barack Obama and revealing him to be less of a leader than he was immortalized as by the Democrats. So thank you, Michelle, for doing my work for me. John Fetterman's wife is another good example. She includes some very intimate details about her husband's cognition and mental health in her book, which are, to my mind at least, pretty inappropriate to share with the public. And then you have Kamala Harris, lambasting her husband for not paying enough attention to her big birthday. But Kamala doesn't just embarrass her husband, of course. She does a pretty good job of embarrassing herself. Now, this is mostly accomplished through her conduct in this interview, but she also provided the show with a photo that doesn't exactly scream future president. So let's go to that.
The book also has, it has some photos that we haven't seen before. This is a photograph of you, never before seen. It's the day that Joe Biden announced he'd withdrawn from the presidential race, which was July 21st, 2024. What's going on here with you? Is this where you're finding out? Are you being told that this was about to happen?
So that day, July 21st, 2024, was a Sunday, and it was my family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, my nieces' children. I call them my baby nieces. And we had a really wonderful brunch. Again, I talk about what that day is, but and then I get the call from Joe. And immediately, that's the dining room at the vice president's residence. And immediately, my incredible team, people just started coming. And we turned it into a war room. And I made over 100 calls that day. I rolled calls. And that's me on a call. So you'll see my phone is actually on my lap. And you know, I know I've been teased about this, but I like these kinds of ear pods that have the thing.
Yeah.
Because I've served on the Senate Intelligence Committee. I have been in classified briefings, and I'm telling you, like, don't be on the train using your ear pods and thinking somebody can't listen to your conversation. I'm just telling you, that's a little bit more secure.
So you roll those 100 calls.
Now, Kamala said she was going to promise us a totally exclusive behind-the-scenes look. It seems like she's omitting a few things here because there were reports that leaders in the Democratic Party were already pushing for Joe to drop out, that they were pushing for Joe to endorse Kamala as the presidential candidate instead. So it seems like she is spinning a tale which casts Joe Biden as the principal actor in his own presidency, which is totally in question. I mean, we've seen Joe Biden do his best to dissuade auto pen abuse allegations that have come out. He didn't do a very good job of that. In fact, he roused many more questions, like what was the fidelity in the chain of communication from Biden to his senior advisors to people writing down his requests that weren't in the room. But in any case, let's get back to Kamala.
Yeah. Roll those 100 calls in just a couple of. So President Biden says he's stepping out of the campaign at what, mid-afternoon, something like that.
Yeah.
And half an hour later, he says he's endorsing you to take over. You roll up those cars. A couple of days later, it's kind of all over but the shouting. Everybody can see that people are coalescing behind you. You have 107 days.
Right.
What would you do differently, looking back on it?
Because
you were in a tough spot.
Well, let me suggest one thing. Win.
There are things I would do differently. And again,
read the book. I know. Read the book. We're all going to read the book.
But I will say,
do you do the audiobook, by the way?
I'm going to do an audiobook too.
Okay, great.
Yes, I will. And I'll read it. I'll record it. But the one thing I just have to say, and I mentor a lot of people have done that over my career. None of us achieves any success, it's certainly for me, without having an incredible team. And one of the points that I hope I make often enough is I was going through that 107 days. This is a personal and candid perspective from me about what that experience was. Mm-hmm. But I had a team, many of people who have been with me for years, who really were so invested, and as I say left it all on the field, and I don't regret a day of that.
Well, Kamala does a good job skirting the question, but it was very kind of her to credit her team for her loss as well. So many people to shoulder the blame. Okay, so the last section of the interview that's really of interest, I think, is when Kamala is asked about Joe Biden. Now, this is Stephen Colbert's attempt to press Kamala for some more answers. This is basically as antagonistic as it's going to get in the whole interview, in a very friendly interview with a very friendly audience. And Kamala refuses to answer the question.
You had a great team, but you also had a friend, a mentor, someone you respected greatly in the office of the president, who had just stepped away. What was that like when you saw Joe Biden walk on stage at that debate, and it did not go well? Spoiler, it did not go well in that debate. Therefore, you became the candidate. At what point in the, say, month that followed that, did people start saying, you might need to be prepared for this?
Let me say something about Joe Biden. I have an incredible amount of respect for him. And I think that the way that we should be thinking about where we are right now is to remember that we had a president of the United States who believed in the rule of law, who believed in the importance of aspiring to have integrity and to do the work on behalf of the people. And that's where I'll leave that.
I think that's a fine sentiment and all true. I'm just curious, did people say to you, you should be prepared for this?
So she basically offers 3 meaningless platitudes, and they're so meaningless that even Stephen Colbert is not satisfied with her answer.
There were some who did, but listen, it was Joe's decision, and he made that decision.
So then you go to run for president yourself, and people are asking you to separate yourself from Joe Biden. People are asking you over and over again, I was one of them. What's different between you and Joe Biden?
Yeah.
That must have been difficult because you have to differentiate yourself as a candidate,
right,
and yet you respect this man who you're still working for at the same time. What was that like to navigate?
I talk about that extensively in the book.
No, it's in the chapter with Doug.
No, it's because, and I say that because you're raising something that you and I both know requires a lot more time than we probably have right now to talk about.
Are we in a hurry? Are we in a hurry, guys? Go ahead.
Thanks, everyone.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I feel very strongly that, it's an instinct of mine to be someone who does not participate in piling on. And I was not going to pile on. And I just wasn't going to do that. And there was a lot of piling on at that time, and I wasn't going to participate in that.
Well, one person you did pile on.
Okay, so she didn't have an answer then. It doesn't look like she has an answer now. The truth is that Kamala Harris's team probably couldn't come up with a deft enough way to differentiate her from Joe Biden without it seeming like she was casting blame on him. But of course, when you're considering someone for president, if you're unhappy with the last president, or even if you think you did a great job, you want to know how closely aligned the current vice president is with his agenda. But all I can say is best of luck to Kamala as she embarks on this new phase of her career, watching reality TV and writing memoirs. But what did you think of the interview? Let me know in the comment section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.